Manure. I hate manure.
Hello and welcome to episode 48 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Roivers. John Denton is not with us this week because he's enjoying the company of his new wife, so with us instead is Joypod host David Turner.
Howdy, partner. There's a snake in my boot.
As usual, the format's remained unchanged. Two top 10 lists. The top 10, the number 10s are the games we've been playing the most this week. The number 1s, no, that's the other way around. Sorry, 10 are the least, 1s are the most, and that's you should know the deal.
Episode 48, Chet.
No, I'm sorry.
You can't say you should know it when you don't know it.
I know, it's been a long week, but it's Dave, kick off. You start it off.
Right, I'm starting with the iOS game Space Team, which I try and play at least once a week with some friends. Have you ever heard of this one?
No, never.
You would love this, and when I say you, I mean everyone that's hearing my voice. If you could find 4 people that have an iOS device, be it an iPhone, Touch, or whatever, iPad, download this game, Space Team. It's free, and it's such a simple idea, but it's brilliant. Okay, so everyone's got a control panel on their phone or tablet or whatever, and it's all got sort of weird dials with weird names, like I don't know, say one's called a flangelizer or something, and then it's got a dial from 1 to 10. Well, above your control panel with loads of these different dials, commands appear, and it'll be a command. It'll say, "Oh, set quasar to 4," and because you haven't got quasar or a dial of that nature on your device, you have to shout it out, and whoever's got it has to do that command, if you know what I mean. So basically, it's about a minute and a half of people just shouting commands at each other, and doing them on your control panel in order to get to the next level, and it's amazing. Like some of the stuff you shout out is hilarious, and as you like, the worse you do, more and more bits fall off your control panel, and you've got to try and fix your control panel before you can complete the command and stuff, and then all of a sudden you hit a black hole, so you've all got to shake your devices at the same time to avoid it. It's amazing, and it's got that feeling of of being in a cockpit in a spaceship. It's brilliant.
That sounds great. I presume you all have to be in the same room.
You have, and that's kind of a shame, but of course, it's understandable. It wouldn't really work over the internet, but you've all got to be in the same room, so it's proper local multiplayer fun. I love it.
That sounds. I presume it's better on a pad than a phone.
I don't know. I mean, I play on a phone, and it's it's fine. It works, and in fact, actually, I'd say it might even be better because you can focus your view. If an iPad, maybe I don't know. I'm sure it doesn't make a difference. I mean, it's perfectly fine on an iPhone, so that's what we've been playing with. But every time I see 4 people with an iOS device, I'm like, download Space Team. Let's give it a quick go. And rounds can last about 5 minutes, but it's every second is a proper laugh.
Okay, that sounds cool. But I presume it's not a game to be played like down the pub.
You would deserve to be smashed in the face by a Neanderthal. If you were playing that down the pub, you might as well crack out your Warhammer if you're going that far, because you do sound like proper nerds while playing.
Okay, well that sounds really interesting. I'm going to definitely download that. 100%. Okay, my number 10 is a game called No Air Out Here, which is an Xbox Live indie game. I won't say much about it. It's blatantly a young male or female, it's a young person's first game. Incredibly primitive. The reason I downloaded it is because the art looked quite funny, and you're a guy whose spaceship's falling apart, so you need to find scrap metal. You drop on a planet, and it rotates, and you run around it, shooting aliens. Left stick shoot, left sticks moves.
Say that, it sounds brilliant.
I tell you what, it's not brilliant. It's just it's a nice step on the bottom step on someone's ladder towards being a game developer. If he or she needed a lesson about what people will pay money for, this will have taught it to them. So
Do you think, just going on a bit of a tangent, do you think games developers are going to regret this sort of learning the trade in this era? Because obviously, if you create a little game like that, you want to put it out, but now you've got the opportunity to. Whereas, the developers we all love, like the veterans now, they weren't able to put their little prototypes and little ideas out to sort of sully their own name before they get big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose it depends who they are. I'm surprised some of the people who have like giants today haven't done that because. Have you know the director of like The Sixth Sense, the movie, and Unbreakable, The Village, and all that stuff? I forgot his fucking Night Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan, that's it. On all of his DVDs, he puts like films that he made when he was like 9 or 10, and they're terrible. But you can see where he, how he became the guy he is now. So it's really interesting. I'd like to see some, the work of some sort of big guys now that they
come on. You know that whatever Peter Molyneux created when he was 18 is best left unknown.
Yeah, okay, no,
you don't know what he's been up to.
No, I definitely agree with that.
Oh, well, it's me, isn't it? Number 9. Yeah. Need for Speed Most Wanted.
Oh, wow.
I haven't played it anywhere near enough, but I'm not gripped by it at all. And I'll tell you why. I think I've just fallen out of love with racing games, and that's devastating because I loved them. I absolutely loved them at one point, and I'd always look out for the next one. But it's not even Mario Kart's doing it for me anymore. Like Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS, I played it for about 2 hours maybe and thought, oh yeah, this is Mario Kart, and then never played it again. And now there's this. They just don't excite me anymore, and I don't know why.
How are you? I mean, how long have you played this?
Probably about an hour, maybe an hour and a half.
Oh, it takes longer than that to get its teeth in, really.
Yeah, I do need to give it its time because I love Criterion. I really do, and I mean, you just have to look at it to see that it's very much like Burnout Paradise.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there and getting really frustrated with the police in it. Really frustrated. I wish there was a button to turn them off. Is there? I don't know. I haven't looked through the menus there.
No, there isn't. I mean, the thing is, it's something that you get used to because when you start and you're learning the ropes and you're learning the environment and you're learning the cars and whatnot, it is a pain in the neck to get away from the police.
Yeah.
But as you progress and you get more adept at the game and you unlock better cars and stuff, if I get into a pursuit, I'm just like, I don't really give. You're so confident you'll get away that it just becomes.
Yeah.
So you do feel like this sort of basically this criminal who the police can't catch. It's. I think it's a really effective that, but it's a game that you can't sort of. It doesn't really take hold straight away.
Yeah, I've got to give it more time because, as I said, like Burnout Paradise was insanely good, and this looks like a sort of better version than that, but better version of that. So I am looking forward to giving it a real good go, but it hasn't gripped me yet. So it's just sitting on my shelf at the moment.
So you've done no multiplayer or any of that stuff?
No, it doesn't seem many of my friends are playing it. It's been really disappointing because that was the other thing. We always used to be like Burnout Paradise. You could get six of us together at least and just sit and play through the challenges, which were amazing. Are they in this?
Yeah, but yeah, you can select playlists, but more often than not, you select sort of random playlists where you'll do like a race, and then you'll go to another part of the town, and you do like a team race, and then you'll do a challenge, and then you'll do another challenge, and then you. I mean,
so like the parking stuff, where you could do the parallel parking and that.
Yes, loads of stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd love to play it, but it seems that no one else is playing it on my friends list. So.
Well, we're gonna, almost everyone I know who's got an Xbox has now got it, and we've said to each other, we're keeping this for the long haul because it will always be entertaining. So yeah, if you ever see us on, just jump on. There'll be at least 4 of us in the game. 9 times out of 10. Right.
Okay. I will do that as long as you turn your notifications off on Xbox Live. On Xbox Live. John's the same way as well. You'll send him a message going, "Hey man, do you want to play a game?" And then, like after an hour of thinking you're a rude prick, I've remembered that you turn your notifications off. So
I turn them off. I tend to only normally. The thing is, I always forget. I turn them off during campaign, like single player games, because I don't want to. But I always forget that they're off, which is a real ball ache most of the time.
They need to do something like that. Like when you press the guide button, there should be just a little red mark to show that you've got your notifications off. It just makes sense. But yeah, they've probably replaced that red mark with some sort of advertising.
Yeah.
I might know Microsoft.
Well, hopefully for the next Xbox, we can hope.
we can hope.
Okay, my number 9, I won't talk about it very long. It's Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes on the Nintendo 3DS. There's a free demo available, a fairly substantial free demo. I was expecting a different game because handheld games are never normally the same as the counterparts on the home consoles, but it's exactly the same game. It's low-fi visuals, obviously, but all of the cutscenes are on there. The game, it's essentially the same game. So yeah, it's a pretty slick port. I mean, if I know that it's bad if you're a Vita, if you own a PlayStation Vita, because it's just a port of the 3DS version, which must really piss you off with the the fact that the visuals are so low def. But it's one of my favourite games of last year. So yeah, really good.
Nice.
Yes.
Number 8, I've got Frog Fractions.
John talked about this a little
John
while
was
ago.
talking about this. Yeah. It's I don't understand. Look, it's right. Okay, whenever you speak to someone, they sound like this. They can't even get words out. What I will say is that I think it's getting overblown as this really good game, and it's not. I mean, it's been appearing on Game of the Year lists and stuff like that, which is insane to me and actually quite frustrating. I think people think, oh, this is completely brand new and completely out of nowhere and very, very odd and, very underground. So they think it's better than it is, or they say it's better than it is. But for what it is, it's mental. Like it is weird and odd and quite fun. I can't tell you too much about it because it will completely destroy it for you. You've really got to sit down and play it. But you sit down to play a flash game, which for the first 10 minutes of play seems like some weird educational preschool game. And then it goes weird and mental, and all of a sudden it's not that. It's a platformer, and then it's a rhythm action and a text adventure, and it's the most bizarre thing you will ever play in your life, I think. And it gets, how you play some games that try and do this and they just come across as wacky.
Yeah, right.
And it's like really cringy. This isn't like that at all. It definitely gets the perfect balance of surrealism in there. But it's not like Game of the Year or anything like some people are saying. Yeah. It's just really worth playing, and it's free, and you can play on the browser, so no excuses.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do that this evening. That's the thing about what you said about wackiness, because when John described it to me, I thought that's either going to be something that I'm going to love more than I should, or something that I'm going to want to slap him for recommending to me. So, I think I'll play it this evening. Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, there's a real sort of fine line between being impressed by how surreal something is, or just cringing at something trying to be surreal.
Yeah.
And this definitely falls the right side of the fence.
Fair enough. How long does it take to complete it, though?
It depends how good you are at text adventure. The text adventure bit in the middle is the worst bit about it. It goes on for far too long, and I didn't think it was clear enough. I had to use a FAQ when I got really stuck in it.
Yeah.
And I just thought, it's a bit pointless. But if you're okay with text adventures, then it shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. I wouldn't have thought half an hour.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not really okay with text adventures, but, I'll give it a whack. But so it turns into something else, because that's what I said to John. He stopped at the text adventure bit, and I wasn't sure if it changed back into something else.
It goes on after that, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Frog Fractions, done.
Yeah.
And what the other one? Space Team was the number 10, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, right, cool. Okay, my number 8 is Epic Mickey Power of Illusion on the Nintendo 3DS. It's another demo. I assumed again that this was a sort of version of the home console sequel to Epic Mickey, but it's not. It's a completely different game. Epic Mickey was the Wii game, and I thought it was really good. I was quite disappointed to hear that the sequel was terrible. But this is basically Power of Illusion. It's supposed to be a sequel to Cast of Illusion on the Mega Drive. It starts really badly because there's if you just bought a game and you're asked to sit through a 5, 6, maybe even 7-minute intro that's graphics on the top and text on the bottom, and even skipping it, you're sat there for several minutes.
Yeah,
that's you can take that on the chin when you've forked out for a long game, but when you're doing a demo, you're like, this is a sloppy choice. But it's a really, really, really fucking good platform. I was completely surprised. I've looked at reviews and they seem to middle. I mean, there's some very, very middling reviews. There's some people praising it, some people saying it's shit. But by and large, it's sort of, people are saying it's a little bit ho-hum, and it's not. The orchestral score is great. It looks like an expensive, although it's a sort of 2D platform, it looks expensive, and there's all the Disney characters are in there, which even if it's not your thing, it's quite cool. And there's clever moments. The only thing that's might be a problem is that basically you encounter puzzles every minute or two, and those involve drawing on the bottom screen. Getting the stylus out of the 3DS XL is fine because it's on the side and you can just slip it out, slip it back in. But if you're asked to keep doing that, if you've got the old 3DS where it's on the top, I can imagine that being a bit of a pain in the arse. It's an incredibly good platform. There's some RPG elements. You unlock these rooms in a fortress, and characters that you rescue become shopkeepers, sell upgrades. And there's extra missions to unlock and stuff like that from them. There's RPG elements to it. But it's clever. It was fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I might be tempted to pick it up at some point, especially if I end up on like a plane or a train or something.
Is it made by Junction Point, the same guys that did the main game?
Junction? What, the one on the consoles? You mean?
Yeah.
No. What isn't that? What's his name? I've forgotten his name. The guy who did the original. Same guy, right?
I'm not too sure, to be honest, but it's just been announced that Junction Point, the studio behind Epic Mickey, has been shut down by Disney. So, so I just wanted to end that on a really depressing note.
Okay. I don't think it was then, because it's a completely different game.
All right. So is it like the thing with Epic Mickey is I see a lot of sort of adults talking and raving about it. Does it feel like it's made for adult gamers, or
no?
Is it like really easy, or
no, not really. I mean, it's difficult to explain the appeal of the 3DS one. I can't speak for the home console one. All I've heard from people I sort of like and respect is that it's really not even worth playing, and it's a colossal fuck up. And it looks like something where they cut the funding sort of towards the end of production, which kind of hampered it a little bit. Yeah. But the 3DS one, I mean, admittedly, I've only played the demo, although it's quite a generous demo. I played it for about half an hour. It looked like a really, really impressive game, and I'm sure it had nothing to do with the other production, because this is a 2D platform where that was something completely different. But
all right, okay.
Yeah,
might be something I need to try out then.
Try the demo. It's a freebie, isn't it?
It is, but you're only allowed to play it 8 times because of the mental demo system on the 3DS.
It's funny though, because you can tell that developers pick how many times. Like if you play some games, it's like 30, and then some it's like 5. Some of them I've played some where it's like 5 or 4. So it looks like how much value they place on your ability to replay it. I don't know.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
My number 7 then is Bayonetta.
Wow.
Because I see everyone talking about DMC, and I thought I need a game like that in my life, but I can't afford that one.
Oh, okay.
So I stuck on Bayonetta again and remembered why it was utterly amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, from start, almost perfect for me. I think it's so smooth. It's such a good looking game. I think the combat system is probably the best I've ever experienced. I think it's as close to perfection as you're going to get for that genre, but I'm being told that DMC is a better version of Bayonetta. So I'm excited to play that when it inevitably comes down in price.
Are people saying that DMC is better than Bayonetta?
Some people on Twitter sent me messages saying yes, that it's better. Are they wrong?
I wouldn't say they're wrong. I mean, if I had to pick one at this particular point in time, I'd probably pick DMC, but that's because the platforming is brilliant as well. It's really mixed in with the superb platforming where you're pushing and pulling all these sort of. I mean, it's very, very carefully implemented into the combat, so it's still a brawler, but they've got these great little platforms. It just makes it feel, I don't know, it's like it's always moving. But Bayonetta, I agree with you. It was like basically the combat was perfect.
The combat was perfect. The enemies were interesting and fun to look at, and they all had their own quirks. And the story was even brilliant. Like this witch fighting the angels, and the angels being. It's just brilliant. Like I love everything about that game, which is funny because when I first played it at Eurogamer way before it came out, I thought, who the fuck is going to buy this piece of shit? It just turns out how wrong. Like I was really, really wrong about that game. It's up there with one of my favourites of all time.
Wow.
Wonderful game.
That's funny you say that, because I remember the first time I was playing, I was around John's house and he'd been sent a really early copy of it to review it. And I think while we were playing it, and I was looking at it like, this isn't any good, is it? And he was like, no, it's really good. It's really grabbed me. I'm like, it's not for me. I thought exactly. I was just like, yeah, this is not something I really need in my life. But while we were playing it, John got a text or something saying that Edge had given it 10 out of 10. And immediately I was like,
really?
I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'll give it, because I was kind of ripping him for playing it. I was like, but just give it a 1 out of 10 and fucking throw it in the bin.
Well, the only thing stopping it from getting a 10 out of 10 from me is the terrible motorbike section that wasn't needed at all. I just come out of nowhere. I hate that. But yeah, no. When it comes to Edge reviews, I always look out for the wonderful number 6. If Edge give it a 6, I'm bound to love it. So that's the number I look out for, not 10.
No, Edge, no. There's 6s out of 10 that are up there with my favourite game. That Edge.
I know, it's crazy. It actually angers me how many of my favourite games got an Edge 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
do you remember when they gave?
How different...
Sorry, go on.
It just shows how different I am from an Edge review, I suppose.
Yeah, me too. But do you remember when they gave Grand Theft Auto 3 a 6?
Did they?
They gave it a 6,
really?
And then there was such an uproar. The next issue, they put, sorry, there's a correction. We actually gave it an 8, but it was a misprint. And they did a retrospective where they looked back at all their seminal reviews and they didn't mention it. I was like, you could have at least said something, you fucking scumbags.
Yeah, they're very proud. That magazine, I think, is the best way to put that.
Indeed.
Proud.
Indeed. My number 7 is a game called Kung Fu Fight on iOS. It's also on Android, I think, and I played it on the Xbox 360 because it's an indie game there. It's by a company called No Static Software, who made a game called Quiet Please last year. If you listened for a while, you may remember me talking about it. It was one of my favourite games. Yeah, it's one of my favourite games of last year, and if I'd have remembered, thought about it when I was compiling my list of my favourite games of last year, it probably would have been up there. It's a fantastic, incredibly charming little indie adventure game, and it's 69p on iOS or 80 Microsoft points. Get it, Quiet Please. But anyway, this is by the same people. Kung Fu Fight. It's there is a word for it, but what do you call those games where you're always running constantly? Is there a word for that?
No, yeah. I mean, no, I don't know the word, but what would I call it? The Forrest Gump video game? I don't know, right?
Okay.
I can't think of a quirky genre for it.
No, I couldn't work out whether someone had come up with a word for it or not. But anyway,
let's just call it a Forrest Gump game. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. You're always running, and it's animated in a very. It's the same art style as Quiet Please, which means that it's. Very deliberately primitive. I don't know what the word is for that either, but it looks like a sort of an Atari 2600 game.
Right.
Really, really primitive graphics, and you're just running along, and you can jump, you can kick. That's about it. Enemies come. There's destructible obstacles. They throw things at you. There's incredibly brutal checkpoint systems. So it's one of those games where it's so easy to fuck up, and it's all about having the most perfect reflexes that you can have.
Yeah.
And part of it, it's not always the same. It changes constantly. So a guy can throw a shuriken at you, and you can duck, and then immediately jump. And the next time, if you die, you die a lot. But it's a very good example of one of those games. I've played a lot of them, and actually, there's a lot of them on iOS. But they're pretty fucking ho-hum. This is a very, very, very good one. And the subtlety that sort of enemies moves are telegraphed. It's really rewarding. It's a game that's been done a million times. But I love this version of it. I thought it was fucking great.
I've never been grabbed by any of those games. The sort of the Forrest Gump games. It's the only thing that stopped me from getting Jungle Run. What is the Rayman Games? Jungle Run, is it?
Rayman Jungle Run, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the only thing that stopped me getting from that. And like everyone tells me how brilliant that is, and how it's one of the best iOS games ever. But because it's a Forrest Gump game, I've never really taken the plunge. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely won't float your boat then because of how. I mean, it's so the graphics are so deliberately simplistic. But a lot of the time, those sort of games, I don't know. This just felt like I was a lot more relying on my wits, and it's a very subtle. I thought it was really great, but then I'm starting to just love everything that this company does because they do very, very, very short, but that there's quality control. So it's I rate it. Even though, I mean, you can look at sort of footage on the internet, maybe Kung Fu Fight. It should give you an idea of whether it's your thing or not.
I love how accessible those companies are as well, those developers. If you find a really, like a iOS developer that you really like, 9 times out of 10 they've got a Twitter feed and you tweet them and just tell them you like them and you get one straight back, like a really nice message.
Yeah, I've done exactly that with these guys, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So my number 6 then is Far Cry 3.
Oh, yeah.
I've not played it too much. I played the intro, which I'm guessing a lot of people don't like. You know, like they probably think it's really cliched or whatever. I really enjoyed it for that, actually. I thought it was brilliant. And I've played like the first few missions, and I'm finding it really hard to adjust to the game so far, which I suppose is part of the game. I'm finding it really hard to break up crowds of enemies. I'm finding it really hard to work out where animals are that are attacking me. But I suppose, yeah, that's the whole point, is that you don't really know about the jungle. You're just flung into it, and you're adjusting to it. So I'm sort of putting that down to the game being clever as opposed to me being stupid. But yeah, I mean, it looks amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah. When you say that you can't see animals attacking you, do you mean you can't see, when you look down, that you can't see where they are?
Oh, no, I'll be walking along and all of a sudden there's a snake on my arm. Well, where the fuck did that come from? And stuff like that. And or I'll be walking along and I'd hear like a hog snort. And some of them attack you and some of them don't. And the worst thing is that the music isn't consistent. So like in most games, for example, Dishonored, which we'll come to later, the music kicks in when you're in danger, and then it changes the music when you're at immediate threat and stuff like that. With this, it just seems to randomly play music. So I'm like freaking out, going, well, what's near me? And there's nothing near me. Sorry about that.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
That's Sutton. welcome to South London. Sorry. Yeah, so like sometimes, I expect that there'd be enemies around me, but there aren't. So it's it's a bit of a weird experience at the moment. I'm not really getting why music is being used and how it's being used yet. So it's a little bit more confusing. But other than that, I mean, that's such a minor gripe. I'm really early on, and I'm very, very interested in what it's doing so far. And I can't wait to play more of it. So probably not the best time to give a full opinion on the game.
Yeah, the only thing I remember about the beginning stages of Far Cry 3 was that I love the way that you do learn those systems yourself. There's nothing to teach you how anything works, and you get a lot. I mean, you're not following the story. Are you just if there's anything I should say, don't do, it's follow all the story missions. If there's something beside you, like a side mission or any kind of, go and do that, because you just learn about the game that way.
You see, because it's funny you should say that. I feel the complete opposite. I think it's telling me too much. It's got this horrible system where you'll do something and then it'll come up on your screen, press start to watch this tutorial bit. And I'm like, okay. And then I'll do that. And then the next one, I've already worked out how to use my camera. And it's saying, press start to find out how to use your camera. So I ignore it and think, that'll go away soon. And it doesn't. And then when you do press start, they're all sort of layered. So I've got to sit through a load of tutorial bits now. So I don't know how you got away with that, but it was really pissing me off.
Actually, that's something that doesn't get said enough. There are certain cues that come up that are completely unnecessary, and they do take you out of the game, and you can't switch them off either. So there's certain situations where it'll say you could use these things to make this tonic. Or if you're doing side missions, it'll say, don't forget there's a fucking mission you've got to do. Or sometimes the phone will ring and it'll be the mission that you heard 5 seconds ago. You're like, I've just answered this call already. I've done all this. So it's a little bit inconsistent like that. But you just have to ignore all that shit, because the good stuff... When I say that you learn the game, I mean that, for example, trying to split up a band of 5 guys... Or seeing the possibilities, sitting on a hillside looking at a camp and seeing all these people and just thinking, I might give that a shot. And you're like, I can't believe that fucking worked. That's the beauty of it, seeing how it all reacts to sort of anything you can throw at it. It can almost anything can work, and that's why it's so exciting to play it. But
you could tell that it's made for open world exploring and stuff, even down to things like what the characters say to each other and how they react. because they're clearly not scripted.
Yeah.
It's all sort of sound bites just popping out, and some of them are really funny as well. Like I had my iron sights on some dude who was just walking past me, and he just went, "Oh, it's so hot out here. Will someone just shoot me now?" And I was like, "I'm gonna, mate. Don't worry about it." Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting involved. I think with a game like this, you have to give it a lot of time before you can even really sort of decide if you like it or not.
True.
But right now, I'm finding it a bit of a struggle adjusting to this. Okay. But that's probably because it's a lot different to the other first-person shooter games I've played recently.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it will. It will. I mean, it will. It will dawn on you how many hours into the game. It will. I mean, because I was like that because I thought so highly of Far Cry 2. When I played Far Cry 3, I was constantly worrying, that it wasn't measuring up. Yeah.
See, because I've not even played Far Cry 2, so I'm sort of coming to it completely fresh. It's like someone just trying FIFA out for the first time and thinking, what's going on? I'm completely not climatized to the game at all. So I'll get there because I'm willing to give it a real good go.
Cool. It's funny what you said about those random things that you can make people say, because something got said in a game. And I immediately was like, did that just happen? And over the course of me playing through the campaign, I tried to make it happen again and it didn't happen. I was like, maybe I just fucking imagined it. But I kicked off in a camp and alarms went off and there was hundreds of people and I just gunned a few people down and then I just was about to die. So I hammered it. I jumped on a quad bike and I flew off a cliff. Just as I was about to basically die, I jumped off, deployed my wingsuit, and then hit the ground. I was like, I can't believe I survived that. And these two guys were standing down the road by a broken down car, and I swear to God, one of them said, "Driving lessons, bro." And I was like, that can't have just, he can't have just said that. And I can't vouch for it. If it does, it's brilliant. If it doesn't, then
there's so many guys. Rockstar are really good at that stuff as well. I remember going into a bar in Red Dead Redemption and hearing some bloke shout from outside, "Manure, I hate manure."
Really?
And now I put that up on the forums. And has anyone else heard that? No one else had heard it. I've Googled it. I've tried to find. So maybe I heard something different, but I'm pretty sure I heard "Manure, I hate manure," and I was like, "Fucking yes, what a reference!" I really liked it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There have been things that I've heard. I mean, Saints Row is another one where I'm like, did I just hear what I think I heard? And then you don't hear it again, and you just wonder if it's you going mad. But yeah, good chisel. Okay, right. My number 6 is White Noise: A Tale of Horror on the Xbox 360. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't. No,
I hadn't either, but I googled it after I played it, and apparently people have been well aware of it. It's just an Xbox 360 rip-off of Slender Man.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's literally all it is. So if you've played Slender Man, it won't be of any interest to you, but it's 80 Microsoft points, and for my money, it's actually better than Slender. But then it depends. I mean, this is a much more sort of it's much more directed. I mean, did you play Slender?
No, I don't play scary games. I hate them.
Oh, right.
I'm a massive baby when it comes to stuff like that. But yeah, no, I've seen videos of people playing. I know exactly what it's all about. Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't. There's no rules on the game. It just starts and assumes that you know what the rules are because you know what Slender is. When I say it's the same, although for an indie game, the production values are pretty impressive. It looks better than Slender does. It looks pretty good for an indie game. You're looking for tape recorders instead of pages. They used music. I mean, the thing that I think people found scary about Slender, which kind of annoyed me, was that there was no music. And in this, there's kind of this hum, sort of ambient, weird, offbeat music that I thought was actually made it a little more tense than Slender.
Yeah.
And then the Slender Man, or whatever he's called in this game, they don't tell you, turns up, and it's kind of funny because it is Slender Man, but with a really muscular torso. And you have to run away and not look at him and all that stuff. And but sometimes he appears sitting in a tree, and which kind of makes it a bit more funny than it probably should be. It's and also occasionally you can sort of he can jump out at you, and there's nothing you can do, and you've picked up a certain number of these tape recorders, and your progress is fucked because he just jumped out. What the hey. You lose. But it's better than Slender as far as I'm concerned. It's more atmospheric. It's more I find it quite tense, even though it's very, very simple. 80 Microsoft points worth it if you're interested.
There we go. Quick cheap scare. My number 5 is The Unfinished Swan on PSN.
Oh yeah.
Please say you played this.
I haven't, and then I do intend to, though I haven't played it yet.
do you know what? Completely not what I expected at all. I was off sick with a virus last week, and I couldn't even leave the house. And I'd played everything. I completed everything I wanted to complete, and I was like, "Oh, I've got to play something else." Unfinished One has always been at the back of my mind. So I thought, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna sit and play it." I sat and played it through in one sitting. It's not that long. It's about 3 hours, if that. It's incredible. Like, I loved every second of it. And it's completely not what I expected. And I think the best way to describe my feelings on the game is that when I heard the title, The Unfinished Swan, I thought, oh, come on, how pretentious is that? And then the moment you boot up the game, you find out, no, it's not pretentious. It's not a game. Like it's not sort of trying to describe itself as this beautiful, unfinished product, with all this. It's literally about an unfinished swan, the whole story. And I didn't even know it had a story, and it did, and it does, and it's got a really nice sort of fairy tale that's very, very simple and told to you in a very unpatronising way. So I think kids and grown-ups can both really really like it, and the way it just expands out from the initial idea is amazing. What the weird thing is, though, I went, like I usually do, after I complete a game, I then go and read reviews about it to see if my thoughts, sort of line up with other people's. People are idiots. Like, seriously. I can't remember. I won't name and shame the places that I read the bad reviews, but some of them were so bad. I think this might have even been an Edge 6, actually, so I have name and shamed them. The complaints are just ridiculous. Like, they say, oh, they don't stick with an idea for long enough. But personally, I think they've perfectly timed each idea. They realise when an idea gets a little bit dull or boring, and then move on and then just drop that idea completely. A little bit like was it Mario 3D Land? Yeah. It's just quick fire ideas, these little thoughts. There is one mechanic that drags on a little bit with some vines, which I found a little bit tedious, but it didn't drag on too long. It's a 3-hour game, so it probably dragged on about 15 minutes too long, which is nothing really. And by the end of it, I wanted to play it all again. And it's one of these games that I can't wait to sit people down in front of and just say, play this, and not tell them anything about it. Because I feel even knowing what the first level's about ruined the experience a little bit. I wish it was just like on my PlayStation. I knew nothing about it and just booted up for the first time, because it would have blown my little mind, which it did do. But the initial level would have really seriously shaken me up. It's really very clever.
Yeah, that's the absolute epitome of a game that I need to play, because John was kind of lukewarm on it, if I remember correctly, which I probably don't. I think it left him a little bit cold. I can't remember.
Really?
I think so. I know he's spoken about it, but it's the fact that I don't even know what it looks like. You have to use PlayStation Move for it, don't you?
No, you don't have to. No, you can use it you can play it like a normal first-person shooter. Yeah, no. What I would say is that if you're going into this expecting a journey or one of these art sort of games, if you want to call them that, then you'll be disappointed, because it's not. In fact, it's actually a very, very simplistic story and just it's not really about the gameplay. It's about visually stunning you, and it's got this. I can't remember the main character's name, but you play as a little boy who's stepped into a painting, basically. And what's wonderful is that he reacts to things very rarely. It doesn't happen a lot. It's not like you're walking around with Duke Nukem and he's just like screaming shit out. Yeah. But there'll be a moment where you'll look over this landscape and you'll mouth the word, as you do every now and then in video games, you'll mouth the word wow. And just as you're mouthing it, he says it on screen. And there's like this giant laying down, and I threw some water at him, and it didn't do anything, but I sort of thought, look, I'm being cheeky. And the moment the water hit the giant, like, the character starts giggling, and it's just like, fuck, this is my inner child sort of coming out in this video game, and it's sort of feeding it back to me with this voice. It's just shit like that. It gets so much right, and it's well worth the £9 or whatever it is on PSN.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's fuck, another thing that I've got to play. Do you know who developed it?
No, actually, I don't, which is terrible. I should know because I should be looking out for more of their stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know the name of the company that developed it.
Okay. I need an excuse to. I mean, do you have any idea whether it's supposed to be better with the Move wand or just with the pad?
No idea. I don't have a Move, so I found it perfectly acceptable.
Okay. Fuck, I need to remember to play that. It's always at the back of my mind. Okay, my number 5 is an iOS game called Dingle Dangle.
Brilliant.
I don't know whether I think it's 69p. It might be slightly more than that, and it might be available in other formats. I know it's on iOS. It's horrendously addictive. It's this Chilingo game. It starts very badly. The opening screen is a pirate on a flying pirate ship, but all of your attention is drawn to these flashing tap 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 tap. These little the word tap coming up in sort of cloud form to direct your attention. Where's it directing your attention? To the shop. Before you've even started playing the game, I was like,
of course it is. Yeah.
I was like, that's shady as fuck. But as soon as you start playing it, this really fucking gripped me. It's a cross between Loco Roco, World of Goo, maybe. Yeah. Those are the two. But you fly around in this pirate ship and you drop this anchor that's got this metal ball on the bottom of it, and you collect these dingles, which are these. They look like the little Loco Roco furball things. Right. As soon as this metal ball touches those things, you pull them up into the pirate ship. That's it, done. But later on, it gets ridiculously difficult. You use the tilt control. You basically only have controls on the screens up and down. Lower the anchor or raise it up. And then all of the other controls are done by tilting. And then there's caves. There's you have to collect diamonds, which you can only collect if you've got dingles stuck to the anchor. And then there's. It's one of those just perfectly pitched iOS games that just keeps throwing stuff at you. There's tools you can use so you can tap away obstacles with hammers, and you get a certain number of hits and stuff. Obviously you can buy all that stuff, but if you collect the diamonds, which wasn't that difficult from what I've played, it never becomes oppressive, or it's one of those games that the transactions never sort of hurt the gameplay. The only problem I had with it was that if you move your thumb too far away from the lever that pulls the anchor up and down, it goes to free camera mode, so you can move the camera around, and that's fine. But if you're doing it when there's tight time deadlines, if you want to get 3 stars, so that can be fucking irritating. But apart from that, a really, really fucking great iOS game, really good.
So it sounds like I'm gonna have to check that one out then.
I would.
Number 4. Don't judge me. There's Mirror's Edge.
Mirror's Edge?
We're doing it for a feature that we do on Joypod called Farley's Game Club. And he suggested we all play Mirror's Edge and talk about it. I hated it before the Farley's Game Club, and I don't hate it now, but I still don't like it. It just seems to me like a game that has been made... like I don't understand. It's not the game the developers wanted to make. I don't think. I think what they wanted was more of a skate style game, a parkour skate game where you get points for doing certain things and you could concentrate on the runs and stuff. And then EA saw it and went, no, we got to have guns in there somewhere, because it seems so forced and the combat is terrible. And there's a helicopter that chases around shooting you, and it's annoying. And there's no free roam mode, which blew my mind. Why is there no section of the game where you can just go anywhere in the city? That shit really pisses me off. But having said that, I am enjoying it a lot more than I remembered. But back when I first played it, I like the control scheme a lot better, and that's mainly because I switched there's 2 buttons, one for Faith to do upward movements and one for Faith to do downward movements, and by default they're L1 and L2, and I've changed it to R1 and R2, which is a bit weird when I'm firing a gun because I have to fire it with L2, but because you're running around more than you are firing a gun, you want your primary functions on the right hand side, so you're not doing everything with one hand. You're actually using your right hand as well. I'm I'm enjoying the moments where you can run around on top of rooftops and bits and pieces like that. I am actually loathing the moments if there's anyone else involved. I've died far too often, and it's been one of the most infuriating games I've ever played at times. Like Trolls HD type infuriating. You know what I mean? I've wanted to punch the screen a lot. Yeah, but going back to the positives, it still looks brilliant.
Yeah, it does.
Like, it's really aged well. And the first time you stand on the edge and you look down and you see cars going past and people walking about, and you think, wow, they've got that right. You know, it does look like I'm up here, and not that you know when you play like a game like Crackdown and you're on a rooftop and it looks layered.
Yeah, right.
You've got the detailed section which is close to you, and then you look further out and you can see that it's just like smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
This, it doesn't look like that. It looks like you're actually on top of a building, and everything you can see, you can get to, and is actually rendered and everything. So, yeah, better than I've initially thought, but still pretty crap.
How far? I mean, how much have you played?
I'm on chapter 5 or 6. I think there's 9 chapters, so 2/3 of it so far. And I should really get some more in before tomorrow. We're recording our podcast tomorrow, but I don't know. It just seems to get more and more frustrating, and it seems to get more and more linear as well. I cannot believe there's not a free roam mode in it. That really blows my mind.
There aren't. I mean, those levels are so specifically designed, though. I mean, if there was free roam mode, I don't think there'd be a hell of a lot of places to go.
Yeah, but you could design a city that was, that was like. But I mentioned Crackdown, but in a different, to make a different point. Crackdown is not a parkour game, but it's a game where you feel like you are doing that sort of movement. Because what you'll do is you'll stand one side of a city and you'll see something else, and you'll go, you'll see one of those flashing orbs, and you'll go, right, how am I going to get up there? Okay, so what I do is I go here, then I can jump on the back of that building, climb up there, and there's moments like that in Dishonored. Whereas Mirror's Edge, it's like, right, okay, what's red? Okay, that's red, I'll jump on that. And it sort of takes half the fun out.
But the beauty of that is that, and I think when that really helps, is there are a lot of sequences where you have to find the correct route really quickly. When you've got teams of guys and you're just hammering and you don't know where you're going, and you're just hoping that the right solution will present itself. I mean, that's those moments when it's the music really comes on loud and there's people after you and stuff. That's where the game works best, because you have to make all those decisions really fucking quick, and you feel like a demon when you sort of pull off the right button combinations to sort of escape really fast.
Yeah, which is totally right. I mean, it does suspense and tension really well. However, there are moments where you don't know where to go, and you'll go, right, okay, oh, I'm dead. Okay, I'll wait for it to load again. Okay, now I'll run again, and I still can't see where I'm going. Oh, I'm dead again. Okay, that's fine. And I don't know. It feels as though the game needed to be needed to have a lot more freedom in it, and it doesn't have that. And that helicopter can fuck right off.
I don't remember ever getting any grief from the helicopter, even on hard.
Just wanted to. I hate helicopters now. Was it Henry the helicopter, that children's product? Shit. I want to blow it up. Watch his little face cry.
What difficulty you do on normal?
Normal, yeah. Imagine me on hard.
Well, you should do. I'm doing on hard at the moment. I haven't played it in a few weeks, but that's the better difficulty. But I'm also not shooting anybody. As soon as I disarm someone, I drop their gun and run off.
Well, this is the other thing as well. The story is quite simple, yet it's broken if you shoot anyone, because the whole point is like, oh my god, innocent Faith is being shot at by the police. Yeah, it might be because you sniped 4 of them and then pushed one of them off the top of a building. Oh no, she hasn't done anything wrong. She's a mass murderer.
Unless you choose for her not. I mean, that I think. I know that it's. I mean, I stopped playing it because it got to a crescendo where I knew it was going to be a lot of hard work for me not to shoot someone, and that's the weakness of the game, is that it does actually force you to shoot people at certain bits. But aside, yeah, I mean, I love the first half of that game. I think it's tremendous. Yeah. It never bothered me about not being open or anything like that. I thought it was because they were so precisely structured. But I'm going to play it some more as well. You're going to play it more before tomorrow, do you think?
I'm going to try to, yeah. It depends if I want to depress myself.
Okay. My number 4 is a game I didn't expect to be gripped by at all. It's Sokoban for beginners. Have you ever heard of Sokoban?
Sokoban? No, I've not.
Sokoban. It's a type of gameplay that is traditionally referred to as warehouse puzzling.
Right.
Invented in 1981, apparently, I'm told. It's a game. Sokoban for beginners is basically the core fundamentals of that, and it's called warehouse puzzler because you have to push boxes around it could be a warehouse, it could be anything, but it's just space, and you have to move those boxes into specific areas. If you push them up against the wall, you're fucked because you can't get behind them to move them.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You've seen that style of gameplay implemented into a million other games.
Yeah, it's basically Zelda's first dungeon.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, apparently that's it's on iOS and it's free, and it's actually made by No Static, who made Kung Fu Fight and Quiet Please, which I spoke about a minute ago.
Yeah.
And it's 21 easy, 21 medium, 21 hard puzzles, Sokoban puzzles, and it's in the same primitive art style, sort of Atari style, very blocky art style. There's no music. It's very, very simple. Move blocks into the right place. Incredibly addictive. There's a rewind mechanic, so you can undo moves that you've done. It's totally free, totally simple. You've probably played games like it a million times, but this is for some reason it grabbed me by the balls.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's good.
Number 3, Dishonored. I finally got around to finishing it off. The game is amazing until the last 15 seconds. Have you completed it?
Yes.
What did you think of the ending, without spoiling it?
It did. I mean, to be honest, it didn't leave a massive impression. I mean, but what ending did you get?
I got the bad ending. I got the high chaos ending.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that.
But I looked at the low chaos ending. I hate games now that finish with a cutscene. I just hate it. The cutscene was short. It was shit. It didn't show you too much. You've affected this world that you've grown to love and explore. And you don't get to see what your effects have made on it. It's that dream bit at the end. Should I have said that? I'm sure it's fine. But it's like a quick cutscene and then you're back in the menu. And I was really, really disappointed with it, considering how amazing that last mission is. I was really, really disappointed with it. And also really disappointed with the fact that you couldn't go back to the start with all the powers that you'd accumulated throughout the game.
Yeah.
Kind of inexcusable to me. That seems perfect. What do they call that? Endgame Plus?
Plus, yeah.
I don't understand why that's not there. It makes no sense. But that's a very minor gripe to what was one of the best games I've played last year. It's wonderful. You feel powerful at times. It has that amazing mission bang in the middle of it, set at a party. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful world. You can get as deep into it or as shallow into it as you want. You could be a mass murderer. You can ghost your way through missions. It's just brilliant, and more people need to play it if they haven't already.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's funny what you're saying about the fact that is one thing I will say about it, regardless of what ending you get by the sounds of it. The ending was surprisingly abrupt.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
And that actually, I have to say the same thing about Far Cry 3. You go through this amazing adventure and all this stuff happens and it just kind of stops. And you're like, when the credits rolled, I was like, is that it? Is that what you're giving me? After all, I mean, it felt like it had been developed in a completely linear fashion until the last minute. And they were like, well, we're going to burn it. We're going to, the discs are going out the door in 5 seconds quick. And it's just like, it stops. And you're like, after all the time I've invested, you expect a coda of, you expect it to resonate somehow.
Yeah.
I do agree. I mean, it didn't sort of, it was underwhelming, but I don't remember it leaving.
Look, if you create a wonderful game world that people are going to fall in love with, let us see how we've affected that world after the credits.
Yeah.
Even if we just walk around it and people react to you differently. You know what I mean? I so want to tell you what I wish that the ending was, but it would completely spoil it. But you look at something like Red Dead Redemption, and even with the ending that's got, you could still explore the world that you've grown to love again.
Yeah.
I cannot believe Dishonored did it. It's such a really shitty gripe to have, because the whole game is superb. But I did, when the credits rolled, I was really angry that they didn't make more of a sort of fanfare of the ending.
Would Game Plus have worked? I mean, because there's something so specific about in Dishonored, the way you pick your path via the sort of magic that you select. I mean, if you had everything, I don't.
Yeah, but why not? I mean, you've completed it, so you've played through the game. That's fine.
Yeah, I suppose.
And now all I want to do is, up my possession skills and buy skills that I didn't get around to buying in my main playthrough. Because I would say you unlock about half of what you can unlock for a playthrough, unless you are completely trying to 100% it.
Yeah.
So I was disappointed that I couldn't sort of build upon what I'd already worked on. It's a shame.
Yeah, no, that's a fair comment, I guess. I'm still intent to play through that again. I started it again, but I haven't gone back to it since pre-Christmas. So
yeah, I've gone back to missions that I really enjoyed and played through them again and did them a little bit differently and stuff. And I can't wait for more DLC. I'm sure it's going to be excellent.
Yeah, no, agreed. Okay, my number 3 is Lego Rock Band on the Xbox 360. Have you ever played Lego Rock Band?
Is this like the sort of kids version? I think I have played it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pitched as like the kids version of Rock Band. Me and my girlfriend were playing Rock Band Blitz as we do all the fucking time. As I've said before, if I was being honest, it would be my number 1 every week. But I don't want to bore the fucking shit out of people, so I don't mention it. But we were playing it, and then we just thought, wouldn't it be cool to get the instruments out again? We're like, yeah, fuck it. We've got a few of the old instruments out of the drawer, and we were going to play Rock Band 3. But then I remembered that Lego Rock Band is the only campaign for any peripheral-based guitar music game that I haven't completed.
All right.
So I've completed Guitar Hero Van Halen, and in order to do that, you have to play the game 4 times, once on each. That's one of the darkest times of my life. I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, that literally. I mean, every single Guitar Hero or Rock Band game I've completed, and this is the only one I haven't. And we stuck it on and we played a few songs, and it's pretty good. It's quite a good attempt at making Rock Band accessible. I mean, if you play a song that you've downloaded and it's really difficult, it will be difficult. But the songs that are on the disc are just very, very straightforward, very easy pop songs. Some of them are horrendous to listen to, but you can. I mean, I played it mostly playing DLC that I'd had from previous Rock Band games and from the Rock Band store. And it's the same game, but the bricks on the note corridor are Lego bricks. The guys on stage are Lego men, and there's a funny plot. It's sort of very amusing little storyline along the campaign. So I mean, we were playing it, and then we were on the tour bus. We stopped by, and there was a farmer who had these crops, and they all died. So we had a relief concert for him, and they just insert animal noises into the song that you're playing. So there'll just be like cows and fucking chickens, no matter what song you're playing. If you play like a really hardcore metal DLC, that they'll figure out a way to put cows mooing into it somewhere to make it amusing. But it's Lego Rock Band. It was entertaining on Saturday night. And
then did you put all the instruments away, knowing that you won't see them again for a while?
Absolutely not. No, actually, we're going to play Rock Band 3 next week with the keyboard.
Oh, really?
I don't play the keyboard. No. Yeah, I mean, it's that's had its day, but at the same time, it's still fucking good fun when you get the guitars out. I still love it.
Nice. Okay, on to my number 2 then, which is Halo 4.
Oh, yeah.
I've rediscovered my love of Halo. I was a huge Halo 1 and Halo 2 fan in multiplayer.
Yeah.
I really liked Halo 1 single player campaign. I thought Halo 2 single player campaign was bullshit.
It was really.
Halo Reach nearly pulled me back in, but it didn't quite do it. Halo 4 has completely grabbed my face and smashed it into the screen. I absolutely we played through the single player, which is excellent up until the last 2 missions, which I thought were real below par with the rest of the game. I think it's one of the best looking games that I've played on the 360. It's incredibly good looking.
Yeah.
And then we said, let's try the multiplayer out again. And I've spent hours and hours and hours on it. It's so good. I love everything about it. I love the fact that, I was a huge, and still am a huge Battlefield fan.
Yeah.
But I found myself taking it a little bit too seriously and getting grumpy. And it sort of, I found that I was having more of a negative experience with it than a positive one. And that's nothing to do with the game. It's just a very serious game. Whereas this, I'm jumping out of banshees and throwing sticky grenades on people's visors, and I've sort of rekindled my love for multiplayer gaming again. The sort of fun times where, if you die, you don't want to break someone's face. You just sort of laugh it off and then go back and try and get the guy back.
Yeah.
The only issue with it is that it's got a map voting system, and you have to vote between 3 maps, which means you play the same 2 or 3 maps over and over again.
Yeah.
Because everyone just wants to play their favourite map. So, if a lesser map pops up, no one votes for it, which means you'll never get to play that map. It's really disappointing. So we want to do a custom, sort of a bit of a meetup soon. Try and get as many Halo 4 people together and play it with mates, because that's the way to play Halo. Just what a game.
Yeah, me and my friends, we always play Battlefield. But a couple of times over the last month or so, we've said, let's have a go at Halo. And every time we play it, we just it's so easy to forget how fucking good it is on multiplayer. It really is just something else, and I really need to spend a bit more time. But the way they have split, in retrospect, I don't think they put enough maps on the disc, because...
How many maps are in the game? Because I've literally seen 3.
I think there's 10, but you only see... It depends what game type you pick, so...
Yeah, because we're always playing Slayer. We want to do... I can't see an easy way of doing a... like sort of a... what do you call it? A King of the Hill Rumble Pit style thing.
There is... isn't that on there? I'm sure that's on there. We've done
I
King of the Hill...
can't find it. We were looking at it. I really want to play some King of the Hill, so maybe that'll change the maps up a little bit.
I'm pretty sure we've done... we do a lot of Oddball, which is... absolutely. Those old game types are in there somewhere. I just don't know where to find them. It's been a little while since I turned it on, but all of the variants are there. Is Griffball even there? I think.
I don't know. I all I've played is Team Slayer right now. That's all I've been interested in. But that's been keeping me occupied more than enough. I'm not even ready to try out new modes yet. I'm very happy playing Team Slayer at the moment. But it will come to a point where we get bored of that and we'll start looking around. But as I said, Halo's never better than when you're playing amongst friends. So we're going to try and organise something.
Well, yeah, stay in touch about that, because I need an excuse to jump back on. Are you going to buy the maps, though?
I'm thinking of it, yeah. I'm thinking of it. They're quite expensive, aren't they?
Well, for map packs, I don't know. It's about sort of standard price, really.
Okay. Well, I'm getting them then.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I might buy the. The problem I have is that it always goes back to Battlefield, so it's like I feel like I'm sort of wasting money if I spend money on maps on something else. But yeah, if you do something like that, give us a shout, because I'm well up for it.
Will do.
Okay, my number 2 is the Crysis 3 open multiplayer beta, which came out today, whatever the date is, Tuesday. And I played it for a great deal longer than I was expecting to. Did you download this today?
No, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but I've got no interest in Crysis, so I haven't touched it.
Did you not play Crysis 2?
I did, yeah. Is that the one set in New York?
Yes.
I didn't like it. I'll tell you something. I really liked the sound design on it. That was about it. I thought the game was a little bit too boring.
Even the campaign?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about maybe 2 hours, 3 hours with the campaign, and I was like, I'm done with this already. I don't want to play anymore.
Wow.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, it's one of those games that, like Dishonored, you can completely, you can play it in several completely different ways. I don't know about Crysis. I can't speak for the campaign, obviously, but the multiplayer in Crysis 2 was good, but it didn't really stick out enough. And I remember, we all got it when it came out. We all played a few games, and then we just kind of left it alone. It was good, but it was competent. But when we have, Battlefield or whatever it was at the time, Black Ops, why would you bother?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's 2 modes on it. There's Hunter mode, which is basically the flood. I think they call it Flood in Halo 4. The old zombies. where
Right,
one,
okay,
in this one of you's a hunter, and you've got you're permanently cloaked, and you've got the crossbow. And everyone else has to survive for 2 minutes and as you get killed, you join the ranks of the hunters. It's really fun. It is just zombies or flood or whatever it's called, but it's reasonably entertaining. Crash Site is basically an objective-based games where these things shoot down from the sky, and you have to objectives appear in different parts of the map, and then they stay there for a little. I mean, it's basically a moving objective point, but they make a hoo-ha about it landing somewhere, and it's fine. It's trying to make out that it's something fresh when it's not really. I mean, the problem with first-person shooters these days is that they're just reheating things that have been done before. Those are 2 game modes that we have played before. And as fun as they are, and it's not a good-looking game. I mean, I remember Crysis 2 being quite a slick-looking game, even in multiplayer. This looks a little bit kind of murky and muddy, but then again, it's the beta, so it's unfair to sort of judge it on that. I had fun playing it, but the fundamental problem that I had with it is that the shotguns and the sniper rifles are incredibly underpowered. So no one was using them when I played it. It's just machine guns and like pistols. That's it. Everything else. I mean, the shotguns and snipers, even up close, don't do anything. And also when you're cloaked, you basically you're invisible. I know that's to give an advantage to the people who are in the hunter mode, who are what do they call? Yeah, well when they're hunters, they can't really be seen too much by the other guys. But it's I think they've gone too far in the wrong direction. It's too hard to see them. So if you're the last man standing and there's a little bit of tension, you're backed into a corner, you will just get killed when it looks like there's no one in front of you, which I think is a bit of a shame, but it's good. The multiplayer always seemed like a needless addition to Crysis because it's all about the campaign. But as far as it goes, it seems like it will be pretty good, I guess. But
is anyone gonna pick it up? Is everyone gonna? Yeah, I can't see people leaving what they regularly play for something like this.
That's it. I mean, people seem to be doing it for Crysis 2, but then they didn't stick around. That's the problem I have. I know that all of my friends will buy it because they're massive fans of the Crysis campaigns, and so am I. I mean, I think Crytek do amazing single-player FPS campaigns. Up there with the best. But yeah, it's one of those things that we'll play once to see what it's like, and I doubt we'll return to it. I'm sure that the balancing issues will be ironed out when it gets released, but it's a first-person shooter. I've already got a couple that I want to sesh up, so do something special.
Yeah. Okay. So on to my number 1 then. It's Scribblenauts Unlimited on the 3DS. I'm reviewing it. Well, I've submitted my review to Spong. I've never liked the Scribblenauts series. This does a lot to make me like it a little bit more. But it's still the same old problems there. Have you played a Scribblenauts game?
I played... Hold on, I thought Scribblenauts Unlimited was a Wii U game, is it not?
It's set out for the 3DS as well. It's a port. Okay. And not a bad one, although it uses none of the 3DS's 3D capabilities whatsoever. The cutscenes are in 3D, but they're terribly rendered in 3D, which means your eyes just screw up when you try and watch them, and this 3D slider doesn't work to help for some reason. But the rest of the game is all in 2D, which is a shame because with 2D layered games like that, they always look really nice in 3D. Like the characters really pop out the screen and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it's not the case with this one. Look, the problem I have with Scribblenauts is that the idea is that you've got a puzzle and you've got to try and solve this puzzle using your imagination. That's the basic, very, very basic premise. But what you tend to find is that a lot of the time that's not the case. It's more about, guess what the designer's thinking, and there's no difference here. What this does do that the others didn't, whereas before it was just like, here's a puzzle. Now you've got a world to go around and explore, and it's actually quite fun to walk around and walk into a fire station and then conjure stuff up in the fire station to make everyone freak out or to see what happens, if you put a bonfire on a fire alarm and all sorts of weird sort of stuff like that. But it's still falls short of actually being a real game. And it made me sit there and think, what other ways could this game mechanic and this wonderful library of assets, what could you use that in? Could you use that alongside a platformer maybe, as opposed to a puzzle game? It just doesn't seem right for a puzzle game, because you've also got the fact that if you're designing a puzzle for Scribblenauts, I'm not saying that they're bad puzzles. I'm saying it's almost impossible to design a puzzle for it, because you've either got to make it really open-ended, where anything you think of might work, but in doing so you're making a piss-easy puzzle game, or you've got to think of something specific and hope that the player is thinking along the same lines as you. And again, then it goes from being really easy to a fucking nightmare, because you've got, it's like the designer's going, oh, think of what number I'm thinking of. Yeah. So there's no middle ground. They haven't found that middle ground within 3 games. So I mean, if I was working at Fifth Cell, I'd have to sit down and say, look, this isn't working as well as we hoped, and now the buzz of Scribblenauts has started to fade. It's starting to get some lower scores. I think they've got to say, look, we need to take this engine because it works, and we know it works, and people like it, and we need to apply it to a different style of game and see what we can do with it elsewhere. Like a platformer is a really simple idea, but that could work. Like, you come across a bridge and you've got to think of something to get over the bridge, and then you carry on, do some platforming, and then another challenge crops up. But having just a puzzle game based around this engine just doesn't work, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the most fun you'll have in the game is when when you have a Grand Theft Auto moment. What I mean by that is, you know, in Grand Theft Auto, or even did Dishonored or something like that, you'd save the game, and then for 10 minutes before you turn the game off, you'll go and fuck everything up. Yeah. Kill everyone, and get the police after you and stuff like that, and then you just turn the game. That's what this game has. Like, you finish, you save, you do a puzzle, and then you think, well, I'm going to spend 10 minutes pulling up a fat dinosaur and getting him to eat a supermodel, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all that this game's good for. And then when you look at the fact that there's a Scribblenauts game out for the iOS for 69p, you wonder why anyone would pay full price for this on the DS.
Wow, there's a 69p Scribblenauts game? I had no idea.
Yeah, it's Scribblenauts remixed. I think it's the first one, so it doesn't have the added adjectives. But I mean, it's certainly not leagues behind the full price 3DS Wii U game. So it becomes hard to recommend. So not brilliant.
That's a funny series. I've never played it myself, but again, John had the original when he was reviewing it for a magazine, and I played it a little bit, and I was like, I just had too many questions that I was certain that the game couldn't answer. And when I played the Wii U version a few months ago, I spoke about it, a few months ago. The guy presenting it to me, the sort of, I don't know what you'd call him, the guy who was stood next, he's supposed to stand there and look pretty and explain the game to me. He was like, use your imagination, use, whatever you think. And I had to get something down from a tree, and I thought a vacuum cleaner and a Hoover, and he was just like, nah, use a jetpack. And I was like, okay, the jetpack worked, but what if, how many other options have I got? Do I have to just think of jetpack? Can I put giant firework? I mean, that's why it just began to make my brain hurt. I was like...
The example I always give is that is one. I think this was on the original one. I was in a shop full of glass, and it said, "Try and break all the glass as quick as possible." So I just thought opera singer, because in cartoons and stuff, when an opera singer hits that high note, all the glass shatters. I thought that was really logical, and it wasn't, because I conjured up a opera singer and he just walked left and right a bit. And I was like, oh, fuck this. And then there was another one where you had to try and get Maxwell. This was in Super Scribblenauts, the second one. You had to try and get Maxwell to the front of a queue without upsetting anyone. So I put him in a wheelchair and then pushed him towards the front of the queue, and everyone got pissed off. And it was like, well, it's not, think of anything. Think of a clever way to get past this puzzle. It's think of what the designers thought is the right idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think, the problem with making it too open and too sort of trying to advertise itself as this thing where anything can happen and you can bring anything to any situation. If they did just insert those mechanics into a more linear puzzle game. So you would get to a certain situation, and you could almost literally do anything, and they could spend all of their time making sure that everything could be applicable to that scenario. Would be so much better than what they've got at the moment, which is kind of like, yeah, it is. Guess what we think would be the best thing to do here.
But then again, as I said before, if you think of every conceivable way of solving this problem, you're just making a really, really easy puzzle game.
But then they could be other. They could sort of puzzles could spawn from within that, and sort of reasons that didn't work in that scenario. You know, the opera singer might not have worked in that scenario because of X, and you know, something else might not have worked because of, you know, turning it into something where you have to sort of strategize your way out of it. Whereas,
yeah, oh no, that's brilliant. But yeah, no, I totally agree, because at the moment they've got, if you like, okay, this is the perfect example, right? There's a bit in this game where there's a heart chasing a surgeon around. There's an angry heart chasing a surgeon around. Find something to stop the angry heart. So I conjured up a cannibal, and I dropped him in there, and he started eating the heart. Now all I needed to do then, once he'd eaten the heart, is pick up the cannibal and put him in the dustbin. Whereas it would have been better. It's like, shit, right? Okay, so how do I get rid of the cannibal? You know, so it sort of drags on, but instead you just put them in the dustbin and it's done. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many better ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And they seem reluctant to try them out.
Yeah, I get it must be doing well for them though. It's just, it is a shame because, I mean, the fact that, you know, it is so invigorating when you come. I mean, admittedly, I've only played it in dribs and drabs over the years, but when you do hit something on the head, it's like, wow, this is, you know, you feel like you came up with it. But when the options aren't there to sort of, when they're not applicable, it's just annoying when you feel like you're doing stuff and it's just not working flat out. It's a real pain in the fucking arse.
Yeah. Yeah. So frustrating is the best word for that series. I don't think it's dead and buried. I think there's potential there, but after 3 games, it shouldn't be potential.
Yeah.
It should be sort of coming together now, and it isn't really.
Yeah, true. Well, I look forward to the Wii U one anyway, just to see, because I have never actually sat down with one of those games and played them for a long time. So
you'll enjoy it. You'll sit there for ages saying, "I can't believe he doesn't like this," and then the more you play the game, you more you sort of start seeing its faults and getting disappointed with it. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Noted. Okay, all right. My number 1. Sorry to end on such a damp squib because I don't have anything really to say about it, but it's Need for Speed Most Wanted. You've already spoken about it. Me and my circle of friends, we all have it. It's a pure fucking joy. I can't say whether or not it's better than Burnout Paradise because I'm assessing that having played it for many, many years. But it is very much the sequel to Burnout Paradise, and the campaign is still fun. I'll have a little blast on that now and again, but multiplayer, although there's no progress, and I think I've said this before, you know, in Burnout Paradise, once you've done something, they've got a little tick next to it, which was nice. It was nice to know that you were sort of basically completing the game. Now everything's just sort of it's all very open, it's all very random. The track listings are sort of random, and you do this and you do that, and so, but it's incomparably entertaining. Just if there's 4. Maybe in 3, I mean 3 or 4, or, you know, ideally more, of you racing around this world doing this stupid shit and those challenges. I mean, we are so in love with that game right now. It's you know, Battlefield's on the back burner, which I never thought I'd say. It's tremendous. If you see me online, just jump on, man, and just play games with us.
Yeah, I will definitely do that. I'm looking forward to getting stuck in because I know it's a game that I'll love because I love that developer and I love Burnout Paradise, but it's just not gripped me yet. So maybe I need to play with some friends. Yeah,
well, yeah, jump on. It is. I mean, it's a game that I was looking forward to through the whole year, and when it came out, I at first, like Far Cry 3 in a way, I kind of was not certain that they smashed it, and they have. They really have.
Right.
So yeah, jump on.
Excellent.
Okay, all right, well, that's us done. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week. Check out the website, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Facebook, all of that shit. If you plug something, Dave, would you?
Spong.com.
Is that what they host the podcast, do they?
Yeah, they're our website. You should go there and read our stuff.
When's your review of Scribblenauts up there?
It's probably going to be up tomorrow, so by the time this comes out, it's probably on there.
Genuine. Cool.
Read that and laugh.
There you go. Okay, all right, well, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully see you again next week.
Goodbye, I love you.
is a winding road that's taken me to places that I didn't want to go. Whoa.